Hi, everybody. My name is Yasha Dolan, and I'm working with Jackie and Brian, and I'm going to go over my part of our presentation, which is gamifying and digitizing the classroom, and really just the overall implementation of technology in our classrooms in general. So, one of the things that I found interesting about last week's reading was the fact that sort of digitizing the classroom really has its roots in the 1960s, where kids were given clickers to respond to questions that teachers were asking. And I found it fascinating that even with just the implementation of something as simple as a clicker, the research proved that students were more engaged, test scores improved, participation improved, and so I found that kind of a fascinating concept, and that those clickers and the digitizing in the classroom really led to some of the gamifying in our classrooms. And now these student response systems are, platforms like Kahoot and Quizlet and quizzes that we all probably use to, introduce information, to review information. And again, I think that we all see that it really does up the level of engagement. Students are excited, they're participating, they're learning. I mean, when we do a quiz to review vocabulary or something in my classroom, I mean, they hear that music and, they're moving to the beat and dancing around. And so it really does kind of, enhance the lessons and leads to more focus and participation and just a little bit of fun in our classrooms, which I think is something that's really, really important. So moving on, just to the overall implementation of technology, these student response systems evolved into games like Kahoot and Quizlet. Technology is now just instrumental in the 21st century classroom. I mean, it's imperative that we're teaching students how to use multimedia tools, how to use technology, because it is such a big part of the world, And so at this point, we're using technology like Screencast-O-Matic, Screencastify. And one of the things that I use the recording technology for is to flip my lessons. And I found that incredibly successful in differentiating instruction, in allowing all students to access information, right? Because, I'll record my direct instruction, whatever it may be. Maybe I'm talking about a text or showing them, an annotation of a text that we're reading or an application. And I can record myself and put that on Canvas, which is, the platform that we use at my school. And then the students, they're able to have access to that direct instruction whenever they want, whenever they feel that they're ready to learn. They can tap in and start watching the videos. They can rewind. They can watch as quickly or as slowly as they choose. And so, again, it's really been instrumental for me because we get to spend our class time with some of the more engaging activities, some of the more collaborative activities, because they've sort of gotten the brunt of the instruction at their own pace, at their own time at home, which also obviously helps differentiate so that students aren't asked to process information all in one place at one speed. So Flipgrid, I mean, is an amazing tool. Flipgrid is a tool that I use a lot in my ELD classroom where I'm teaching newcomers. I'm trying to teach vocabulary. I'm trying to teach language functions, so kind of the bricks and mortar of the language. And, I give them speaking tasks. I get them on the Chromebooks. I let them wander outside under supervision or hang out somewhere in the classroom, and they record themselves using the vocabulary and the language functions. And then again, they submit it to Canvas, and then I can go back and watch those when I have a chance to make sure that they're really actively engaged with the lessons and the learning, and that they're really practicing, the language and the language functions, the bricks and mortar that are going to help them acquire English at the level that they need to acquire it. Edpuzzle's fantastic, to help students kind of go through lessons at their pace. Pear Deck has been instrumental in distance learning for me. Again, you just link your Google Slides to an interactive Pear Deck, and you can tell in real time, looking at the teacher interface, who's participating, who's not. And it just is a really great way to get and give instant feedback to students, in class and get them engaged in what you're doing. Google Slides, Docs are great for having people collaborate, things like that. So again, the technology in our classrooms really is limitless. Finally, just integration of technology. I found the article that we read really interesting in that, it can be overwhelming. And so you got to kind of choose to go at your own pace, understand that you're not going to be an expert with most of this technology and that that's okay. You got to be willing to try and fail. And most importantly, be really, really meticulous in making decisions about choosing technology that's actually going to serve goals and objectives in your class. I think that sometimes we feel the pressure to use technology so that we look like we know how to use all these, the bells and whistles in our class. But it's much more important that we use technology that really does, foster student learning and engagement and participation in our classrooms. So I found that the article that we read had a lot of really, really solid tips about how to pace yourself and how to implement technology. And just remembering that Common Core standards, they do require that students learn digital media and technology skills. So in 21st century classrooms, it's imperative that we're helping students acquire the skills that are going to make them successful in whatever it is that they choose to do, beyond school. So I also included a video at the bottom that's really, really interesting. And so I would recommend that you check it out. Talks a little bit about the uses and implementation of technology in the classroom. Thanks everybody for listening, and I look forward to watching everybody else's presentations.